Hi, everybody. I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are listening to The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards and fire up your fingers. Time to join the conversation.
Hey, everybody out there on YouTube and gun channels, how are you doing? You are listening to The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 7. And I'm glad that you could come by and join the conversation. Who do we have out there on the YouTube side in the chat? Let's see. Midnight Range, Mohawk Boy has been there for a while. Thanks for stopping by and being there, buddy. New viewer, Tear Talk. Love your stuff too, man. Your videos are great. Like I said, they are a wonderful look at corrections from the correction officer's perspective, and they are great. You're like, we're all family, brother. You are absolutely right. Let's see. Anybody there on the gun channel side? Mr. White is sleeping, so no one's there on gun channels yet. But hey, it's early. Here in the panel, we got Matt from 50 Caliber Karma. How you doing, sir? If you're available still. You may have stepped out for a minute. Okay. Roll call. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Well, you know, it's Friday night. How are you doing out there in Tulsa?
Man, it is pretty cool. Meeting everybody from the Gun Channels crew has been tremendously overwhelming, and I appreciate their hospitality. Good group of people we have, man. Good group of people.
I know. I was looking at, I think it was Jelsma's pics on Instagram of range day, and I'm like, oh, the full auto goodness, and I didn't go to Tulsa this year. Damn. But that's all right. Next week, I'll be at the US Concealed Carry Expo, looking at a bunch of neat stuff there, bringing it to you guys. So I'm not going to feel too bad, even though I won't get to shoot some full auto fun guns. Squib, how you doing, sir?
Doing all right. Joining you from work tonight. I moved to a quieter part of the building. I'll be in and out. I guess hi, Food Travis, and everybody out there. And I found something here up in the front of the building. There's your sound effect for the evening.
All right. Yes, that won't get annoying or anything. All right. Well, we'll talk to Matt when he comes back in. He had to step out for a second. So we're going to go ahead and get this show started. Midnight Range says the fries are done. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to trigger you, right? First thing I want to talk about is, you know, after Parkland and after Newtown and after the Pulse nightclub and after Las Vegas and after any of these mass shootings that fit the narrative that the media has in place and will advance the agenda that they want to have advanced, they're in a frenzy. Weeks upon weeks upon weeks of coverage nonstop. Every small detail, everything that they can think of, they're going to do it to try to gin up anti-gun sentiment. But yet when something happens that doesn't advance their agenda, that doesn't fit their narrative, they'll report it for a little while until it becomes clear that it doesn't quite meet their criteria. Then crickets. You know, going up in the days and weeks leading up to the March for Our Lives that I was going to say that the students held, but that really wasn't the students holding it. It was Everytown. It was Moms Demand Action. It was the Giffords. It was the Bradys. It was all the usual anti-gun suspects, of course, backed by the wonderful former New York mayor, Mr. Bloomberg. But the media covered that and covered that and covered that and covered that. So they've made this David Hogg character into an Insta celeb overnight because he agreed with them. He had his agenda was in sync and in step with what they wanted to promote. But when it doesn't, they won't. Here's a piece by AWR Hawkins, April 1st. High school students hold... I'm sorry, go ahead. Were you saying something, Matt?
Yeah, no, I just switched on my computer. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Okay. Here's a piece by AWR Hawkins from Breitbart News. Watch, high school students hold pro-Second Amendment walkout by AWR Hawkins, April 1st, 2018. Students at Florida's Rockledge High School held a walkout on Friday in support of the Second Amendment. Florida Today reports that the walkout was organized by Chloe Deaton, a sophomore, and Anna Delaney, a junior. About 75 students participated in the event. Deaton wore a t-shirt which said, "My rights don't end where your feelings begin." She spoke at the event, telling her fellow demonstrators, "We were built on certain rights, and that was one of the original rights, that we should have the right to bear arms." The Daily Wire reported on the walkout as well, noting that Deaton also read a quote from President Ronald Reagan, which said, "The Constitution does not say the government shall decree the right to keep and bear arms. The Constitution says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." Some students held signs that said, "Guns don't kill people, people kill people," while others held other signs supporting the right to bear arms. Students also carried the Gadsden flag emblazoned with "Don't tread on me." You know, where was all the coverage for that? There was also this past week a walkout held in Colorado for students protesting in favor of protecting the Second Amendment. But there was no media hype and no media promotion of that as well.
Well, unfortunately, the thing of it is, we are the only media that'll be covering that, because the main media, mainstream media, doesn't want to be connected with any of that. It's just, the nature of the beast. I mean, I hate to interrupt you and all, but we have talked about this ad hominem. No matter what we do, until, we as the gun community can raise enough money to make our own media outlet, that's always going to be the way it is. You're never going to see anything pro-gun on the actual news.
Nope. That's why, that's why I keep harping it. That's why I keep harping it. That's why I keep on it. That's why I keep bringing, what light I can to these topics, because nobody else will. We do not have the big guns, so to speak, that will bring all the reach to it. We have a bunch of little people, but a bunch of little people added up makes a big difference, I think. That's why I think there's a lot of push on our social media outlets to restrict, and I don't want to say silence, but maybe a little bit, at least dampen our voices. Another one that the media didn't put out and may have in fact actually repressed. Brother of Parkland shooting victim, March for Our Lives excluded me because my speech didn't fit agenda. Another piece by AWR Hawkins and Breitbart from 2nd April 2018. The brother of Parkland school shooting victim Meadow Pollock says he was excluded from the March for Our Lives because his message did not fit the agenda, quote unquote. Pollock's brother, Hunter, claims that he was left out of the march due to a miscommunication. Claims that he was left out of a march due to miscommunication are not accurate. Rather, he told 10 News, "I was going to give a speech about Meadow and how devastated I am and how we need to make change, but they won't allow me to put my voice out." Hunter's father, Andrew, has supported arming school employees under certain conditions post-Parkland shooting. When Hunter was not allowed to speak, Andrew took it in stride, saying, "We got denied to speak at the march, so I'm not going to the march. I'm going to a lacrosse game." On March 31st, Hunter did give his speech at the that he would have given for March for Our Lives, and to his credit, I will have to say, David Hogg tweeted a video of it. Hogg also claimed a miscommunication kept Hunter from speaking at the march. From a tweet of his said, a miscommunication led to Hunter not being able to speak at the march. I'd like to hear it now. I'd like you to hear it now. So he tweeted it out. So good for him. Hunter replied to Hogg's tweet, thank you. I appreciate you pushing out my video, but there was no miscommunication. My speech didn't fit into the agenda. And we're seeing that time and time again, because with this latest tragedy that happened, the YouTube shooter, that's been buried already. The only people putting it out are, again, those conservative voices on social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're the only ones putting it out. Very, very little is being said in the mainstream media about it once they discovered that it wasn't a right-wing white male with an AR-15. When they discovered that it was a left-wing Persian vegan woman with a handgun, which was legally purchased and acquired, it kind of doesn't fit their agenda. So you don't hear about it. Speaking of legally purchased and acquired, gun control fail. Nasim Aghdam used legally purchased registered handgun in YouTube attack. Nasim Aghdam, 39, used a legally purchased registered handgun to shoot innocents at YouTube headquarters on Tuesday. She also reportedly visited a shooting range on Tuesday prior to targeting YouTube headquarters. The Atlanta Voice reports the gun was a Smith & Wesson 9mm, which was registered to Aghdam, and CBS AP report that police confirmed the handgun was legally purchased and owned. This means Aghdam obtained her gun via a background check, then registered it with the state as required by California law. It also means that background checks and a registration requirement once again proved impotent to stop a determined attacker. Despite the state's tough gun control laws, Elliot Rogers shot and killed 3 near Santa Barbara on March 23rd, 2014. Syed Farouk and Tashfeen Malik shot and killed 14 at San Bernardino County building on December 2nd, 2015. And Albert Wong shot and killed 3 innocents at the Yountville Veterans Home on March 9th, 2018. Moreover, as Breitbart News has reported, California gun control goes far beyond background checks and registration requirements. The state has an assault weapons ban, a 10-day waiting period of firearm purchases, a requirement that would-be gun purchasers first obtain a firearm safety certificate from the state, and a good cause threshold for concealed carry permit issuance. The state also pioneered the gun violence restraining orders that have been pushed as a solution to high-profile shootings in the wake of the February 14th high school shooting in Parkland, Florida. Despite such stringent gun control, Aghdam carried a gun into the YouTube campus, shot and wounded 3 innocents, then killed herself. And that's it. I think that is the narrative that we must scream from the rooftops. Look, people, it doesn't work. Thoughts?
I hate to be the guy who keeps saying this, but you're saying the same thing that we've all believed for years. We know it doesn't work. It's obvious to us because we stop and think and look at the facts and not react immediately with emotion. I mean, some people will, but it's obvious to us that it doesn't work. I mean, look at Chicago, and people will say, oh, it comes from outside the state. And I'm like, there's no gun violence in the state next to it. But they will not hear the logic unless you take them one-on-one and talk to people and actually see what you can do person to person. Because we're never going to make, I mean, if you look at who we're talking to right now, God, I feel bad saying this, but if you look at who we're talking to right now, these guys are all guys that agree with us. And I agree with you. Absolutely. But what are we going to do about it is all we can, is a real concern here.
Well, I think one of the things that that we can do is continue being consistent with our message. That's one of the good things that about us talking with each other about this stuff all the time, because we keep reinforcing with each other, okay, this is what the message needs to be. This is what the message needs to be. That makes it more likely that the message we put out there is going to be one that's unified, which as a community, gun owners are far from. We're fractured. Oh, he's a tactitard. Oh, he's just a FUD. My hunting rifle's fine. Why do you need them damn ARs for? And geez, you're nothing but a goober if you think that You just need that Woodstock blued steel piece of crap. Come on. You know, we're fractured. But the more we talk with each other, the more homogenous our message can become. So that's the first response I have to that. And second is that even though right now we're kind of talking to each other, you know, we can still be overheard by people that don't necessarily hold the same views, because, you know, the last live stream I did, we had a lot of people come in that weren't necessarily normal listeners that were hearing the message for the first time, possibly. Yeah, we even brought that young man on the panel to drop a little knowledge on him and hopefully plant some seeds for him to do some further research and form some different opinions. So even though I hate to say that we're standing in an echo chamber screaming our lungs out, we're standing in an echo chamber screaming. Even though we're doing that, other people standing outside may hear, and that's what we need to have happen. That's why, you know, whenever I have these discussions on social media or at work or, you know, anywhere else with someone about the Second Amendment and gun rights versus gun control, etc., I'm not talking to them because 99% of the time they're not going to hear what I have to say. But what I am doing is I'm talking to the guy standing beside him. That's who I'm really talking to. That's who my message is aimed at. Because the person listening that may or may not be decided one way or the other, that's who my words are for.
That makes sense. But I also think it's important for us to, you know, while we're taking this track, I think it's important for us to stick to the message of guns. That needs to be like our main concern, our big thing. Because when we go off into other, you know, conservative values, then we're losing ground.
Yeah.
Like, I see all the time online, you'll see, you know, the messages that like, this is more deadly than guns, knives and hammers, and then it'll go to abortions. But that is a terribly weak argument, because you are talking to a person who does not believe that an abortion is murder. Personally, I don't. Let's not get into that now. But you are talking to a person who does not believe an abortion is murder. So saying abortions kill more people than guns is not a good talking point.
Along the same lines, if you go to some of the rallies, they start talking about their Christian values. Now, I'm a Christian. It doesn't bother me. But I also don't go door to door telling everybody, and, you know, somebody wants to talk to me about religion, let's talk. Otherwise, nope, you do your thing and I'll do mine. I'm not going to. But I can hear some of the groans and see some of the eyes roll when somebody's up there and they got a pro-2A message and it's good, and they start talking about bringing God back into school and things like that. Now, for me, that doesn't bother me at all. I'm all down with it. But there's some people that are atheists who are going to be turned away from that, and they're like, hey, man, I was with you until you start all that God stuff. Because, and you know, the kind of churches I used to go to when I was a kid, I'd go to hell for saying all this stuff. But this is a free country. I'm not going to force you to like guns or to be a Christian. But some people, it in the same sense, it just turns them away. Just like the abortion thing turns them away.
Well, if you notice, I try to keep this focused on strictly Second Amendment topics, and it's for that reason. You know,
I don't disagree with their premise. I do think that for some people and in some ways, some of this stuff, at least allowing it, or when somebody says, "This is my background, and this is why I believe we should have these freedoms or these rights." Okay, now I see how strong it is or where you're coming from. Until somebody twists my arm and says, "You're going to do it the way I say," or "You're going to believe what I believe," then it really doesn't bother me. But for some people, as soon as they hear that, you know, they go, "Oh, here we go," right? And they're turned away. So it is kind of hard to unify when there are, things like religion or abortion or things like that kind of steer people away.
Well, you know, I'm a religious person, but I tend to think that, you know, pardon my crudity here, I tend to think that religion's like a penis. It's a wonderful thing to have, but you don't bring it out and wave it in someone's face. I mean, that's just how it is. And it certainly doesn't further the Second Amendment agenda to bring up these related yet unrelated topics. Related but not pertinent, I guess, would be the phrase I'm looking for. I tried, since the Second Amendment is a constitutionally protected right, I try to frame my arguments within the constitutionally protected right, within that paradigm. And I've done this before. When someone brings up, how maybe we should ban everything but muskets because the founders couldn't have foreseen those. Well, then I'll take the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment and the Third Amendment and the Fifth Amendment and all of that and apply it to new technologies and situations that the founders couldn't have foreseen, yet still enjoy those protections or those constitutional rights, because that's a directly applicable argument, instead of saying, well, abortion, well, God. I don't know. I guess, Matt, what I'm saying is I agree.
The way I see it is, I was raised religious. I am religious. I'm not Bible thumping. I hardly ever go to church anymore, but that's for different reasons, and not because I don't still believe and things like that. My thing is, most of my friends on gun channels are atheists. Most of the 2A people I talk to are atheists. I'm not offended talking to them. I'm not offended being around them. I'm not offended that they don't believe what I believe. I'm not offended that they think that what I believe is a fairy tale. And some of them have said things like that on air. I don't take offense to that because I believe in their right to choose. I believe in their right to be religious or not be religious. As long as they're not hurting somebody else, I don't care. So I don't understand how somebody like that can be at a 2A rally, and when the speaker does bring up religion, they roll their eyes or groan. If I can deal with you being an atheist, you can deal with the speaker who's been good up to now, bringing God into it. You don't have to put money in the offering plate or take this pamphlet at the door or nothing. Just, we're all in it for the same thing. It's kind of like what you were talking about, the tactical guys versus the FUDs. They're so busy bickering with each other, they're not realizing that, we're all on the same side. It's just, it is difficult some days.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, yeah, but I think we shouldn't have, the atheists should be doing the same thing. They should not be bringing that up at all. It needs to be about one message. The one message, guns.
Correct.
Guns are good. There needs to be no atheist message, no God message. None of that needs to come up. It needs to be guns are good, and this is why. And if you disagree, this is why you're wrong, with facts, statistics, and verifiable evidence. Not
Exactly
with
right.
But when you have a politician up there speaking to a crowd, unless his political advisor tells him, don't bring up God, if he has a strong religious belief, he's going to bring it up. He's trying to get that voter base. And he's trying to let people know where he stands on things. And he, he's not really, he's up there because he does believe we have the right to have guns, but he also believes that we shouldn't have abortion, or he believes in, he's, a higher power or whatever it is. And I don't think the politicians who are trying to do the right thing are understanding some of the, I guess, the things within the 2A community. Just because they're for 4 or 5 different things, I don't think they realize that everybody in the crowd is not for all those 4 or 5 different things. But maybe they're just trying to reach each person. I don't know.
Well, and you already touched on what the difference between that and what we're doing is. What you're talking about is a politician making a campaign speech, and they're going to shotgun every damn thing out there that they think will resonate with anybody in the crowd so that they can collect votes.
Well, that's where I've heard the whole thing. I've heard the whole religious thing that I think turns some of the people in the crowd off. When I was down there with you in Columbus,
I
there
heard
were what? At least three of them brought up God. Now,
Yep.
Last November, we didn't have anybody in Lansing that was a politician. So 2 weeks later in Lansing, we got ours, right? And that I think 2 of the politicians that were up there, I think we had 3 politicians, 2 of them brought up God. And I kind of heard some of the same reaction. Not a lot. It was a murmur, right? So I'm just saying that these are the people that are going up there saying, vote for me because I want to protect your rights. But then when they bring up something else and somebody in the crowd isn't down with that, you know, they might have just lost a vote there, and every vote for that person is going to help all of us. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not necessarily talking about people on gun channels.
You're right. They shouldn't be doing it either, but they're going to. And there's not really jack that we can do about that. What we can do as content creators and just as good ambassadors for the second, whether or not we have a YouTube channel or not, or Instagram or a podcast or any other form of social media or media of any kind, what we can do is stay on message. And that's what I think we have to do.
That I believe you're exactly right in that. Because I mean, no matter how good our message is, if there's somebody who thinks some part of it is off, it's not going to matter. Because you could sit down and tell me, hey, and now I'm going to use a personal experience here. You could sit there and say, hey, the Ruger American in 308 is an awesome rifle for this reason, this reason, this reason, and especially because you can use it to shoot the lizard people when they come. Suddenly, I'm going to take everything you said and just throw it out the window because that's nonsense.
Yeah. You may have been right for everything up until crazy came, but when crazy came, that becomes the focus.
And for some people, that's what happens when you say, okay, now let's pray before we talk about guns.
See, that's why sometimes when I'm listening to a podcast, if I hear something that turns me off from the podcast, my first instinct is to just stop listening. And sometimes that's the best thing to do. If you don't want to hear the message, turn it off. But sometimes I'll stay all the way to the end in the hope it'll change, or I'll listen to next week's show in the hope it'll change. And with one situation, I listened for 4 weeks, and for 4 weeks, it only got worse and worse and worse. And it really pissed me off. And in another situation, your show on Tuesday, or was that Monday? The YouTube thing, was that Monday or Tuesday?
Oh, I don't remember.
Whatever it was.
Tuesday, but anyhow.
Okay, I can tell you, I wrote it down. Here, let me pull out my handy dandy notebook. Okay, at
you took notes.
at the 47-minute mark, that kid said, if you need a 30-round magazine to defend yourself, if you're that bad of a shot, you don't deserve to live. I was furious. At the 57-minute mark, he said that our military spending is way too high and with no visible return. And that pissed me off too. Now, at that point, I was ready to turn the thing off and stop listening. But instead, I stayed all the way to the end. I tried to be objective, unlike the media. The media just hears what they hear and just reports on that. They don't do their follow-up. They don't do their research. They don't, you know what I mean? I said, I'm going to stay this all the way through to the end in the hopes that maybe it changes. It changed. You guys did a fantastic job. Thank goodness I wasn't there, because I would have tore that kid up. The first thing I would have said was, son, you ain't got a right to talk because you're too young. You ain't lived no life. You don't have any background, any experience, and you're not old enough to vote. So just zip your lip. The person I want to talk to is your dad, because I want to know why he didn't, get your head out of your butt and straighten you out and raise you right, why you believe this way. Now, that probably wouldn't have gone over so well, would it?
No.
You guys all handle it real well. You came at him very calm. You tried to give him different points of reference. Self Hunter was speaking the same language as him, and you guys handled it so well. Had I not listened to the end of the show, I'd still be ticked off to this point. You know what I mean? Yeah. So sometimes you got to put up with that if you want to be objective. If you want to be better than the media that badmouths us and lies about us, you have to be better than them. You have to do more work than them. Yep. You have to do your due diligence. Just if you do stick with it and it doesn't get any better, at that point, maybe then you say, all right, I've had enough of this, and you turn it off. It's hard to say, but that's an example of just holding on for the message. Don't take the first message as the only message.
No, you're absolutely right. Ryan, glad you could join us. How you doing, buddy?
I always got myself muted. I'm just trying to catch up on what you guys are talking about. I didn't know I guess I'm joining about 25 minutes late here.
Yeah, you came in just a little bit late.
Hey, Budget. I got a boogie real quick. All right.
All right.
All right. Is that cool?
By, brother.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah, we're basically we started off talking about how the media is silent when a story doesn't fit their agenda and doesn't advance their cause, and kind of got sidetracked into the conversation of how do we go about doing something about that, and really kind of went in the direction of how we have to stay consistent with our message and have to stay kind of on point when we're trying to deliver our message. The way that you're going to counter emotion, which is what the media and the antis run on, they're fueled by it, is with reason and facts.
Sorry, that's my bad. I kind of ran us off the rails.
It's okay. That's again, that's why it's called a
Yeah,
conversation.
I took it a little further, didn't I?
Yeah.
That's my fault too.
Again, guys, it's why I love this format of the live stream, because it's not a lecture. It's not me just sitting here telling people this is what I think. It's people having a conversation and evolving where it goes. I'm fine with being taken a little bit astray. I don't care. I think it's good. It's good for all of us to have a conversation like that.
So was that all in reference to the YouTube shooter, I guess? Then as soon as they find out exactly who she was, everything just got dropped off the media?
That was brought up, yes.
Okay.
How they're not they're not mentioning, if it's a white guy with a AR-15 that they can try to paint as being a conservative, then it's all spread all over the news. But when they find out that it's a female Persian vegan PETA activist with a handgun, there's crickets.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cricket.
Guitar Man Pete out on the YouTube chat asked if we heard about the ruling in Mass. In Massachusetts, says a Supreme Court judge in Mass ruled that an AR-15 is not protected by the Second because it has no sporting use.
Well, they are viciously
right.
misinterpreting the Second.
Yeah.
Ignoring precedent.
Exactly. Because the whole sporting use clause has been struck down before. It's been crumpled up and thrown away.
Ask any member of the military if they want to take a sporting rifle into combat with them.
Yeah.
These military weapons that we have, if they would like to take one of those with them instead of their standard issue.
Would it be a decent model? Because, I
guess if it was a decent model, but...
Because I tell you what, I never once used my burst function in combat.
Kidding.
That's just a waste of ammo. It's not hitting anything.
Yeah, that and did you notice it jammed more on burst?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it got hot and it was unpleasant and it melted slings. Because we only did it at the range just to show how bad it was. But yeah, it was awful.
All right, my faith in humanity is gone right now. Alaskan Ballistics said we are fighting gun control in Alaska with House Bill 75. I'm going to have to look at that.
What?
I would have never thought Alaska would set a foot down that road.
Actually,
you need guns there. You need to walk out the door with a gun there because of the friggin' bears.
I thought they were pretty regulated up there.
Jeez.
I thought it was like, I don't know what their policies are, but I thought it was a little strict up there from what I heard.
Oh, maybe it is. Maybe it's not what I envisioned, because from what my understanding is,
the logical part of it.
Yeah, the logical part of it. There's bears. They'll eat your ass if you don't have something that can kill them. I may simply be misinformed and just going on my own emotion on that one, but I'm going to have to look that up. He says it's a confiscation with suspicion bill, so it's kind of like the ERPOs, the emergency restraining order things. He says currently it's not strict; it's constitutional carry up there. Yeah, that's how I thought it was. Yeah, you kind of need to have it. All right. Well, speaking of losing faith in humanity and people going absolutely bug nuts crazy, Chicago suburb empowers police chief to confiscate assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Now, this is a piece about the Chicago subject, the Deerfield subject. Yeah, well, they might as well be subjects. The Chicago suburb of Deerfield, Illinois, is giving residents 60 days to get rid of their assault weapons and high-capacity magazines and empowering the police chief to confiscate them from those who refuse to give them up. Deerfield previously allowed ownership of such firearms and magazines, but had strict storage requirements in place for them. Now, the firearms and magazines will be illegal to possess in one's home, even if properly stored. Yeah, I had to mute you there, Ryan. You were a little bit, ambient noise was coming through. I mean, feel free to unmute and come back when you want to. Had strict storage requirements in place for them. Now the firearms and magazines will be illegal to possess in one's home, even if properly stored. The Chicago Tribune reports the new ordinance prohibits the possession, sale, and manufacturing of certain types of assault weapons and large capacity magazines within the village. Those in violation of the ordinance will face fines of $250 to $1,000 a day. Deerfield's original assault weapons ban, including storage requirements, was instituted in 2013. The new ban is being put in place because of instances wherein assault weapons, quote unquote, have been used criminally in Parkland, Florida, Sutherland Springs, Texas, Las Vegas, Nevada, and Orlando, Florida. The ordinance warns that stock assault weapons are, quote, customizable to become even more dangerous weapons of mass casualties and destruction. Section 1591 of the ordinance states the chief of police or his or her designee shall have the power to confiscate any assault weapon of any person charged with a violation under this article. The chief of police shall cause to be destroyed each assault weapon or large capacity magazine surrendered or confiscated pursuant to this article. The ordinance does not state whether police will regularly knock on doors and enter homes to check in closets and under beds for assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. But the fact is they don't have to, because in Illinois they have a thing called a firearm owner's ID card. So they already know what you have. Thankfully, though, they wasted no time. The Second Amendment Foundation, that is, wasted no time in fighting this. The Chicago suburb of Deerfield, Illinois, passed a surrender and confiscation ordinance for assault weapons Monday night, and the Second Amendment Foundation responded by filing suit on Thursday. Breitbart News reported that the ordinance is designed to give Deerfield residents 60 days to get rid of the stuff. Let me go forward. It builds on a 2013 ordinance that banned assault weapons. The Second Amendment Foundation filed suit against the new ordinance, claiming it violates Illinois' preemption law. SAF founder and executive vice president Alan Gottlieb said, "We moved swiftly to challenge this gun ban because it flies in the face of state law. While the village is trying to disguise this as an amendment to an existing ordinance, it is, in fact, a new law that entirely bans possession of legally owned semi-auto firearms, with no exception for guns previously owned or any provision for self-defense. Moreover, Gottlieb noted that the confiscatory nature of the new ordinance, combined with the mandate that all assault weapons be moved outside the village or destroyed, puts the lie to claims by anti-gunners that, quote, nobody is coming to take your guns." SAF suit is joined by the Illinois State Rifle Association and Daniel Easterday, a private citizen who lives in the village and is a gun owner. I wish them the best of luck. The City of Highland Park instituted a similar ban some time ago that the local courts and I think the district court upheld that ban, and the Supreme Court, SCOTUS, refused to hear it. They wouldn't take it. So I'm wishing Mr. Gottlieb the best of luck in the local courts and the circuit courts, but I'm not holding out much hope that SCOTUS will take it, because for some reason they haven't taken anything really since when? Heller? Back in 2008?
Yes. If nobody's going to say anything, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that's it. So, yeah, good luck to them. I mean, I think they have strong legal grounds, particularly based on the laws in Illinois with the preemption law, but who knows? Looks like, speaking of the young man that was on here, let's see, Negan Gaming's out there. Oh, Squid, come on, be nice. Your approach isn't necessarily going to be the one that's going to work with this young man.
Okay, look, here's the deal. I said what I would have said at that point, at the 57-minute mark. And I said, good thing I wasn't on there, because I would have said, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to your dad. He's a 16-year-old kid. We shouldn't even be talking to him anyhow, because he's underage. But hey, whatever. I think you guys did a good job. I think you guys did a good job. He's not listening to that. He's acting his age, and that's all good and fine. Look, I'm a father. I have sons. I don't take this crap from them. I'm not going to take it from somebody else's son. All right?
Well, I understand what you're saying. I do. But you're wrong in one aspect. We should be talking to him. He is the person, and he is representative of the people to whom we should be talking. These 16-year-olds they're the future of where our sport is. You know, whether we like it or not, we're getting older. We need to have young blood come in, and we need to make sure that we, as Second Amendment advocates, as activists, however you want to phrase it, we need to make sure that we are good ambassadors, and we need to make sure that we plant the seeds for them to grow on, you know, and it's all it's going to take is one dude, you know, yelling at him, and that could be it. And that's not what we need. We need to nurture what's there and make it grow.
Okay, apparently you're not listening either. Apparently you're not listening either. I said what I would have said. I didn't say that. I wasn't in the conversation. And I said, I put myself down. I said, thank goodness I wasn't.
Yes, you did.
Hear me, listen. You guys are the voice of reason when it comes to being calm and rational and talking to people with an attitude problem, talking to people who are inexperienced, talking to people who want to be ignorant, talking to people who don't want to have their mind changed. You guys are the ones. Clover works with young people all the time. Just because I'm a dad, I do have experience dealing with kids, all right? But yeah, sure. He's used to working with them in the firearm stuff and that sort of thing. And for him, that's kind of more of a day-to-day thing. That's not really a parent thing for him so much as so he's definitely the kind of person that needs to be in here. I said, good thing I wasn't in that conversation. But as far as having to take any crap from some kid, no, I don't have to take any crap.
No,
now that's beside the fact that good thing I wasn't in the conversation. But if he wants to be in there and he wants to start throwing his insults and doing all this other crap, that's all good and fine. I don't care. He's a kid. He doesn't know any better. Okay?
Yes. Okay. I can agree. I see where you're coming from with this, but yeah, I'm just saying that, just cautioning, because you know, you come across to me as a very passionate person about what you believe.
I won't tolerate this sort of behavior from my own sons. I realize he's not my kid, and thank goodness, because he'd definitely get grounded from his AR-15. That's for sure, for acting like this. So, you know, but yeah. One day he's going to be my age. One day he's going to have lived the life. He's going to have done things in his life. He's going to experience good things, bad things, a lot of bad things. He's going to raise kids. He's going to have been married, divorced. He's going to have gone to school. He's going to have had multiple jobs. He's going to been the employee. He's going to have been the boss. He's going to have to pay bills. He's going to have to move across the country, have a mortgage. He's going to have had to deal with kids that are, you know, that need their dad there and didn't need the dad to be a dad. He's going to have to deal with the going and fighting for their kids, the school system, and just all the other things, fighting traffic every morning and every afternoon to go back and forth to a job they can't stand so they can pay bills, to put a roof over their kids' head and keep them going to a good school, and doing all the other things that we have all done as old men who have lived our life. When he does that, he's going to look back and he's going to go, dang, I sure was really a mouthy 16-year-old who thought I knew everything. And the reason I can say that is because when I was his age, I was a mouthy 16-year-old who thought I knew everything. If I could go back in time, I'd kick my own ass.
Yeah, hey, you know, we've all been there. We've all done that, but that's the thing. He hasn't yet. So he's going to come at it from a different perspective and he's not going to be able to filter it through the lens of his experience. You know, he's not. And you have to understand that and keep your own head about you by looking at it like that. You know, maybe it's easier for me because I deal with mouthy 16-year-old kids for a living. You know, I work in juvenile corrections, and Negan is absolutely pleasant and respectful and wonderful in comparison to any of the kids that I had to deal with. As a matter of fact, when Negan was on or Maurice actually is his name, was on the live stream last week, you know, he said some things that showed his inexperience and showed his youth, but he came across very calm, cool, collected, respectful. You know,
once again, that's why I said good thing it wasn't. You guys hear how I talk. You hear how I am. I don't pull punches. I'm not all rainbows and unicorns. I'm not.
Guy.
I'm not. But when the chips are down, you want a guy like me on your team, okay? I'm just not. I just won't. I'm not going to be all like, let me sugarcoat it and it'll be okay and everything's all right and let's go have a latte and a tea. No, this is life. This is real life.
I get it.
You push me, I'm going to push back.
You're a passionate guy. You're a Marine. You know, I get it. But I also, because, you know, I'm the same way, believe it. But given what I do for a living, I've had to learn how to kind of put that side of myself in a box and just keep him there until I get done what I need to get done. You know what I mean? Unless it's time for him to come out, and then, well,
I do that in certain circumstances, but this ain't one of them. This doesn't fit that. It doesn't fit the pattern.
Well, I think that
I'll just be quiet, okay?
Oh, I'm not telling you be quiet. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think I think that people like him are a resource that we need to cultivate.
That's true, but it starts at home.
Yeah,
my kids have been raised around firearms. They've been raised to respect them. They've been raised to understand that these things can kill. You can't take it back. It's not a video game where you just reset it and start all over again.
But the thing
they know the destructive power. They know how to be safe around them. They know how to be responsible, and they enjoy their time, their family time with us when we take them shooting and we do other things. I've had them at the reload bench. We've been on the back porch cleaning them, things like that. They really, it's part of our family. It's part of our life. And when my 16-year-old, now he's 17, when my 16-year-old son in civics class stood up for the Second Amendment in civics class and nobody else, including the teacher, was on his side, they started calling him school shooter.
Oh,
they were teasing him all day long, calling him school shooter. And when he came home and he told me that stuff, I had to talk with him because I'm his dad. That's what you do.
Sure.
And I talked to him and I said, son, you and I both know you would be the last person to go in there and do something like that because you've been raised better. And he goes, yeah, I know, but it still bothers me. And I said, you know that you don't have access to them because I keep the stuff locked up, but the stuff to do what they're saying you were going to do is in this house. But you're the last kid I would think would ever do that. Don't let it get to you. Don't let things that these people say to you get to you. You just go on being the kind of person you are. You'll find your way in life. I said, but, you know, don't ever stop being responsible when you're around firearms, because when that kid is around firearms, he is so responsible. He's respectful to adults. He's looking out for everybody's safety. He's something else. I'm hoping one day he becomes a firearms instructor because I think he could teach people who are new and who are afraid of guns how to safely handle them without being so nervous, because you don't have to be nervous around them, you know. But yeah, it really bothered me that my son stood up for what he thought was right, not because I brainwashed him either. I've told my kids, you guys are getting older. You're going to have to start making some of your own choices. And whatever choices you have, whether I agree with them or not, they're the choices you guys are going to have to live with because you ain't staying in my house forever. So, I mean, I know all about raising kids, you know, to think on their own and that sort of thing. But I give my kids the chance to be objective. If my kid said, Dad, these guns scare me, I just don't want to do it, fine. But when I was a kid, I don't remember any boy that didn't want to go out shooting with their dad. So I don't understand some of the, some of this stuff today. I just don't.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't get it.
I think maybe what a little bit of your son might have been facing in class is that group mentality. I bet there was probably one or two at least kids in that class that probably wanted to agree and say the same thing, But when they looked around and no one else was saying anything, they're not saying anything either. You know what I mean? I think it's in reference to the kid in the chat, or how, I don't know if he was a kid or how old he was, but I think that's a lot of the uphill battle we're facing with kids nowadays, is that they are the champions of troll. I mean, they're what kids do online nowadays. It's just, that's it. That's, you know, you just go in there and make fun of stuff, make fun of people, or just get a rise out of people. And I think that's probably what that kid was doing. I think if you had a chance to sit down with this kid that was in the chat just now, face to face, one on one, I think his perspective would be completely different than the online face that he shows.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of kids and what you were saying, so there's another kid that's on gun channels, Crackle P11 Jr., Ben Farrell, right?
Okay.
He's the one that you know, Travis jokes around saying he's his son and that sort of thing. Now, Matt had a chat going here a couple days ago or something, and Ben kept putting the same thing over and over again, hoping Matt would get it, but it's kind of hard for him to read everything and have the show at the same time. Believe me, once you're on the other end of the screen and you see the comments going by quick, it's hard to read them all. Anyhow, he kept bringing up the fact that he had something in his class regarding the Second Amendment, and he stood up for it, and nobody else in the class would. What are your thoughts? And I don't think Matt ever answered the question. He might not have seen it. But I instantly thought of my son when I saw that. So there are still some young people out there who can think for themselves, and they can make these choices and go, you know what? It does kind of make sense. If they did take away our guns, what would they take next? They would take our right to free speech. Oh no, if they did that, then I'd take up arms against government. Well, how are you going to do it if they took all the guns? Oh, right. So when I saw him, Ben just kept putting that over and over again in the comments and stuff like that. It does give me some hope that there are some young people that can think for themselves, and they're not being brainwashed by the schools and the universities and the things like that. And they don't have to deal with crotchety, cranky old men like me who expect a little bit of respect because of the things I've done. The reason he can get on YouTube and he can smart off to me is because guys like me have been out there fighting for his right, keeping this country free. I don't expect a pat on the back or a veterans discount for that, but you know, it's just, he doesn't know. He doesn't understand, and he doesn't know. But when I see somebody like Ben, you know, he getting upset, and that's not the first time I've seen him put in something about that, where he's been upset about things that are going on because he hasn't lived through the assault weapons ban and some of the other things. He doesn't know what to expect when the politicians are coming down hard on us like this. I'm not saying we should just go, we got through it before we get through it again. No, but on the other hand, it's not the end of the world. It's not the total end of the world. As you get older, you start to see this stuff, and you know, maybe I don't need to get all too upset over this, but I need to stay vigilant. I need to stay in the fight, but I don't need to let it, you know, control everything. Or maybe you do know things like, you know, maybe I should pick up a couple extra PMags this week, you know, or something like that. But all that comes with experience too.
Squib, Phoenix wants to know if he can get a "get off my lawn" out of you.
I'll try. Get off my lawn. So,
you know, that's not fair. I've wanted people to get off my lawn since I was like 7.
Do you have an M1 Garand?
Life.
Do you have an M1 Garand? Because you have to go out there with an M1 to do it.
Well, does a 1022 count? It's like a miniature one.
Oh man, I don't know, man. If you come out with a 1022 and said, "Get off my lawn,"
how about a Mini 14?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and leave and kind of close things up here with a.
Yeah, I've ruined yet another show.
No, it's all right. Believe me, if I thought you ruined it, you wouldn't get an invite. Anyhow.
Oh, dude, remember that time? Sorry, before we go, remember that time that Never Enough Ammo was doing a show and G-Webs was mouthing off and he freaking silenced him?
Oh, really?
He's like, "You are not going to talk over me on my own show." It was great.
Awesome. I bet G was pissed about that.
Oh, yeah, dude. It was great.
All right. Go ahead and close this out with a self-defense shout out. Again, I am not celebrating the death of a bad guy. I am celebrating the continued life and health of a good guy, and the fact that they had the means and the method and the opportunity to make sure that the outcome came that way. Suspect found lying in front yard after being shot in Vietnam veteran's house. Police found a robbery suspect lying in the front yard of a Hesperia, California residence after the homeowner, a Vietnam veteran, shot him. The incident occurred around 10:30 p.m. Thursday night. This was written on April 3rd, by the way. And one witness indicated the gunshot sounded like an explosion. ABC 7 reports that 36-year-old Michael Good allegedly tried to gain entry through the front window of the house. Then the shot rang out, leaving Good in the front yard asking onlookers for help. First responders arrived and transported Good to the hospital in critical condition. Neighbor Jesus Mejia indicated the homeowner was a Vietnam veteran. Mejia spoke about the veteran's defense of his home, saying, "As long as you protect your family and yourself, I don't see anything wrong with it." Good had been released from jail for just 4 days before being shot. He'd been serving time for a parole violation. Law enforcement anticipates Good will return to jail, quote, if he survives, unquote. Good for you, sir. I applaud your service. Thank you for that. And I also applaud the fact that you were able to defend yourself and your family from someone who obviously had ill intent. And that's how it should be. Let's go ahead and go through the room, close it out. You have anything you'd like to say, Matt?
Oh, anything I would like to say. There's a lot of things I'd like to say, but let's just stick it with, hey, check out my channel, 50 Caliber Karma, if you haven't already. I'm relatively sure all of you guys have, but, just in case.
Outstanding. Go and check it out. Ryan, do you have anything you want to say, sir?
Yeah. Well, sorry I was late.
Okay.
But other than that, no. Thanks for having me on again, and I'll get in there a little earlier next time.
It's all right. Anytime, man. You're welcome. Squib, anything more you'd like to add? You crotchety old so-and-so you?
Yeah, I know. And always ready for a rant. Look, I'll say this. I don't care if you're liberal, conservative. I don't care if you're black, you're white. I don't care if you're young, you're old. I don't care if you're male, you're female, or identify as an attack helicopter. I don't care if you're an atheist or religious. I don't care about your background, you're rich, you're poor. I don't care about any of that stuff if I am judging you as a person. And one thing that can bring people from all different kinds of backgrounds together is firearms. When you go to the gun range and you see it's packed and there's people all different from all different walks of life, all different colors and religion and gender and everything there, with all different calibers and all different kinds of firearms and that sort of thing, you see a melting pot there. And the people are nice and they get along, usually, unless there's that one guy who always seems to take too long to change his target. But other than that, it's a great way to show that we're all in it together in one way or another, or we're all Americans, or we're all people, or we're all this or all that. So even if I do seem to be, this kid, this Negan, sorry, I'm not used to your name. Sorry. So yes, this kid Negan, if he thinks that I hate him or I don't like him or I'm judging him because he's a liberal or something like that, it has nothing to do with that. Yes, some of it does have to do with your lack of experience and whatnot, but just understand that whether we agree on things or not, if you're for the Second Amendment, then I'm with you on that. And if I ever met you at the range, I'd let you shoot one of my guns or something like that. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Just like I do the strangers that I meet all the time at the range. It's a great way to bring people together.
Yes, it is. All right. Well, as always, the Right of the People every Friday night, 7 p.m. right here on Budget Guns and Gear Reviews. Be sure to tune in for it. Although next Friday, there very well may not be a show. I will be at the U.S. Concealed Carry Expo in Kentucky for that weekend. So if I can do a show, I will. If I can't, I may just go live for a little bit from my phone. It's going to depend on whether or not I can get a decent laptop between now and then. So if I can, we'll do the show just like always. If I can't, then we'll do something. But it won't be what we normally do. That being said, remember, we need to, as gun owners, stay vigilant. We need to stay on our Congress critters and our representatives. We need to stay active with letting them know what we think. Send them smoke signals, send carrier pigeons, telegraph, telephone, television, do whatever you need to do to let them know what your opinion is. Never, ever, ever give up the fight. All right, guys, have a good one. We'll talk to you next time.